Yeah, we are very, very exciting because that's gonna be our first international presentation from Maryline Renault. Is a French award-winning photographer and ocean geographic associate based in Singapore. She lived in 8 countries and explored more than 100, bringing a borderless perspective to her work. Through innovative techniques and storytelling, she reveals the ocean's hidden worlds and advocate for their protection. Yeah, welcome, Marilyn, and all is yours.
Thank you so much, Bilal. Really appreciate. Thanks for having me and for the nice introduction. Okay, let me try to share my screen and let me know if it's working in a panoramic. Usually takes a little bit. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I see. Everything
All
fine.
right, just give me one sec. Here we go. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. So I can see people from Turkey, from Asia, because I'm based in Singapore as well. I'm super excited to be here today with you all on the SGTV channel and to share some of my underwater work from the region I'm currently living, Southeast Asia, which happen to be the world's richest underwater ecosystem for its biodiversity. So I think it's a nice topic that Bilal and I we've been discussing, and let's deep dive. Feel free to comment and ask any question, maybe in the chat first, and then Bilal will consolidate them in the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Okay? All right. Yes. Okay. So as you might know, the slides are moving, huh? Yeah, perfect. As you might know, the Southeast Asia region is home of the famous Coral Triangle, recognized as the global epicenter for the marine biodiversity. So as you can see in the map, it stretches across Indonesia, the Philippines in the north, some part of Malaysia, Timor-Leste in the south, up to PNG, Papua New Guinea, and Solomon Island in the east part. And it represents 6,000 species of fish, which is huge already, 76% of the world's coral species, and more than half of the world's mangrove species. And as you might know, coral and mangrove ecosystems are really crucial for the ocean protection. We were discussing with Mahmoud just before we start the call, and ocean protection is something really important, and coral and mangrove are really protecting it. So with such a huge biodiversity, there's a lot of things we can talk about, but then we discussed with Bilal and we decided to focus on specific areas or specific types of diving or underwater photography, which are, I would say, the most significant and most impactful of Southeast Asia. And frankly speaking, it's probably one of my favorites as well, as diving spot and type of underwater photography. So here are the 4 areas we are going to cover today, 4 wonders that are either best in class, I believe, or areas where we have amazing encounters with higher probability in Southeast Asia versus other regions, or because it's much more accessible in Southeast Asia versus other regions, okay? So Southeast Asia is famous for, number one, muck diving environments and all the mind-blowing mackerel we can find there with all the rare, weird, and strange critters. But also for the huge amount of healthy corals and its biodiversity. Then number 3, the black waters. And I believe they are one of the best in the world. And lastly, I'll go through some specific encounters, and I'll take the example of the sardine run in the Philippines. Okay, so let's get started with mud diving. It's mainly, mud diving, it's mainly a rocky, murky seabed environment with usually dark volcanic sand. So it's not really glamorous underwater, or neither topside, by the way. And we are really far away from the very nice beaches with white sand that we can find in the same region, the same countries that we are talking about. But this is precisely where the tiny, rare, and most incredible creatures are camouflaged. So that's the reason why it's, for me, the most surprising in Southeast Asia. The world's top 5 mud diving spots are also in the Coral Triangle, and they are usually very well prepared for divers and underwater photographers. So we have in the north part, Anilao in the Philippines, very accessible at only 2 hours and a half from Manila, and there's direct flight from everywhere in the world with the capital Manila. I would say it's not only the macro that is amazing at Anilao, but also that's definitely the capital for black waters. We have the number 2 spot, Darwin, in the Philippines as well, with both a stunning macro and wide angle. Then we have Lambay. You might have heard about Lambay in Indonesia because that's probably the most famous, with incredible resorts, and a lot of famous photographers are doing workshop there. So yeah, it's very well known. In Lambay, critters tend to be really bigger, more visible somehow, although they are camouflaged, but it's a pretty cool destination, especially if you've never been doing mud diving, I believe. Then we have Ambon in Indonesia with very interesting endemic species. And last but not least, Tulamben in Bali, Indonesia, with a lot of super macro creatures. Here we are talking about millimeter size critters, half of a rice grain, basically. Okay, so let's go through the most iconic critters of mud diving. And I present my photograph as well, okay? So first, the frogfish. There are more than 50 different species recognized, from painted frogfish or to this juvenile clown frogfish species with a brown and a blue body and the orange dots that you can see on the right side. It's very interesting to see them actually walking or swimming or even fishing with their fishing rod to lure their prey. But of course, the holy grail is to see them and to capture them yawning, quote unquote. For that, we have to be patient. From my experience, it happens every 20 minutes, half an hour. So you just need to get ready with your camera. So here I am usually, I encounter a frogfish, and all the rest of my dive, I'm waiting for the yawning. So it can take some time. And actually, the frogfish is yawning not because they are tired or bored to see photographers like me, but actually they are stretching and realigning their expandable jaw before fishing or after for cleaning, since they are ambush predators and they can swallow their prey, a prey that is often the same size as themselves. It's quite impressive, and you can see on the left side the huge capacity of their mouth and their jaw. It's quite impressive. Important to mention that this yawning can also happen for a defensive threat display, right? So that's the reason why I'm always trying to take distance with the frogfish, not to disturb them. Then the second icon of mud diving environments is the wunderpus. Very interesting. They are changing pattern in seconds. From on the left side, you can see a copper brown, orangey color to a dark brown with white stripes pattern. It's pretty impressive to see that. So here we have an example that is fully backlight on the left and snoot, and front lighted and snooted as well on the right side on the exact same subject. And the photo in the middle is actually showing the transition between the two colors, right? So it's in a fraction of a second, but I managed to take the transition with the central part of the body that is already transforming to the new pattern. Sea slugs and nudibranch. Okay, so in the region, we have 3,400 species of sea slugs. And interestingly, there are still 1,000 unspecified. So there's still a lot of work to do. And sea slug is actually the group, the umbrella category, and nudibranch is the main subgroup that is representing more or less 70% of the sea slug total. We can find them in a lot of different environments, of course, even in a coral reef environment, but we tend to find the rarest ones and the higher diversity precisely in mud diving. That's the reason why I would focus a little bit more on sea slug and nudibranch in this presentation. Interestingly, the Philippines, so within the Southeast Asia and the Coral Triangle, the Philippines is actually the country with the most documented species and probably the world's most diverse spot for sea slugs. So if you want to see that, if you love that, Philippines is definitely the country to go. And here are some examples from a few cool sea slugs. And those are super, super tiny, like really millimeter long size. We can see some others with wonderful colors. The one in the right is a very rare sea slug called the butterfly sea slug. That's his nickname for, okay, excuse my pronunciation, Sierras Typhoterobabai. Now you understand why we have nicknames for all of them, and which is really beautiful, as you can see. One very interesting, the Favorinus nudie, very common here in Southeast Asia and very easy to find because we just follow egg ribbon because they are always on top of those egg ribbon or in the middle eating other nudies' eggs. As a matter of fact, it seems that there is only, I think, less than 1% of nudibranch eggs that are surviving, that are becoming adult sea slugs. Because usually they are eaten before becoming adults. They are eaten by Favorinus, but not only, also by crabs, by fish, by other nudibranch actually, occasionally when the food is scarce. So when you see them, like in the picture on the left side, it's usually they are not, that's not their eggs, they are not protecting their eggs, they are actually eating others' eggs. And excuse me, here is a perfect example of that. It's a huge nudie, what we call cheesecake nudie. It's a nickname, of course, looking at two small Favorinus in the front, eating in the egg ribbon. So when I saw that, I don't remember, it was a few years ago, I thought, oh, the cheesecake nudie will fight and protect his eggs. Like we can see with fishes, right? Fishes will die for protecting their eggs, right? But very interestingly, nothing of that happened. Even though the nudie, the cheesecake nudie is huge comparing to the tiny Favorinus, we can hardly see them in the picture, right? So I was really preparing my camera stay for a long time to capture some kind of behavior, some kind of fight, some kind of protective behavior, let's put it that way, right? Well, turns out that nothing at all happened because nudies are not protecting their eggs after laying them. Not at all, zero. So yeah, after a while, the cheesecake just ended leaving the Favorinus alone, eating their eggs in their buffet. So yeah, no wonders that there is only less than 1% of the nudie eggs that are surviving in this world. Nudies are not protecting their eggs, right? But we can find some very interesting, serious relationship that is a symbiotic relationship with emperor shrimps. In this relationship, basically, the emperor shrimps take advantage of the transportation and the ride of the nudie. I'm not a marine biologist, but in different articles, we can see that this relationship is actually a commensal relationship, which means that only the emperor shrimp is actually benefiting from this relationship. And the nudie, well, is just not affected at all. But in some videos, we can see the shrimp actually helping the nudie, removing the parasite on its body. And interestingly, I personally witnessed a scene, it was a few months ago in Bali, where the emperor shrimp on top of the nudie was actually grooming the nudie eggs. So they were taking care of the surroundings, obviously protecting them from predators, as we've just discussed. So I believe that this is a true mutualistic relationship where both species are benefiting from each other. And funnily enough, if the nudies don't care at all about their eggs, at least their shrimps, their partners in crime, are doing the job, which is a great news. Okay, a beautiful sea slug, the elegant. That's a name, right? It's really the elegant sea slug. It's unfortunately becoming less and less common. It's rare nowadays, and it's absolutely stunning. You can see with very delicate golden curves and this translucence. So for my photographer friends here, it's all in camera, all the effects. And I use a snoot, two colored lights for the background, and a swirl filter. And here the secret is, in order to have this quarter of swirl effect that you can see, is actually to manipulate a filter that is standalone so that you can rotate yourself till reaching the effect you want. So it's not a filter that is fixed on your lens inside the housing. It's really standalone and it's in the water. And then my favorite nudie, the very charismatic donut dodo nudie, which is an endemic species that we can find in Indonesia, of course. It's in PNG, in the Philippines, in Singapore, by the way, as well. And those two images are from Tulamben. So the first image on the left side is a black and white converted, representing visually the full moon. Because the full moon triggers many nudibranch species to synchronize their spawning with high energy tides. So I wanted to represent visually that. From a photo technique perspective, what I did is that I used two continuous lights, so it's no strobe, in a cross position in order to make the fritter that is translucent glowing, popping. And for the background, I use a prop with light for the bubble bouquet background. And I highlighted one specific bouquet bubble to represent the moon on the top left side. And then for the right picture, we can see a very interesting territorial behavior because the donor duty is grazing on the hydroid. But for the shrimp, this hydroid is its shelter, its home, is feeding platform, is everything for him, right? So unfortunately, the shrimp can only watch because while the nudie is dismantling his world, the nudie has chemical defenses. So unfortunately, they can't really fight and can only see the scene that way, in a very passive way. All right, then another very charismatic, and cartoonish sea slug, the Costaciela, that is known as Shaun the Sheep. As you can see, it's quite very similar. And this one is really, really, really tiny, very difficult to spot. So usually we are spotting the specific green algae where they are feeding on in order to find them. And then we put our magnification glasses because it is definitely not easy. Speaking about cartoonish, we have the Pikachu of the sea as well. The real name is Secacera pacifica for the left side, or Secacera sp8 for the right side. It's really super cute. On the right picture, you can see a kind of disco style. This was taken with a backlight, snooted, a prop with multicolor light for bubble bouquet, and the full swirl filter in a circle position. Yeah, it's really the full Monty. And, by the way, a lot of people are asking me, hey, why are you making creative pictures like this, using a lot of artificial lights and effects and everything? And I'd like to mention that, well, first of all, it's just one part of my work. And it's a very challenging, actually. It's extremely difficult to get in camera all those creative image. But more importantly, I realized that these kind of pictures tend to attract a lot of people, and especially non-diverse, and create a lot of emotions. People like it. They think it's, oh, it's beautiful, it is cute. And I believe that my mission is to raise awareness about these incredible critters that are existing in the ocean and the water, to ultimately protect them and protect the ocean. See what I mean? Because people are willing to protect only what they can see and what they can connect with emotionally. So yeah, that's my reason why. Okay, in the mud diving environment, in the mud diving environments, there's a lot of sand, right? Because it's a sand seabed. So it means that there are a lot of backscatter and sand particles as well, which is a nightmare for us photographers. But I would argue that if you can't fight the backscatter, it can be very interesting to embrace it, actually, and create some kind of image like nudity in the sky, like this one. So just a tip for people fighting the backscatter. Okay, let's switch to iconic shrimps. There's a lot of species once again, and I like very much the one on the left side, the Arlequin shrimp, which is very beautiful. And you can see here feeding on the starfish. Well, actually, the Arlequin shrimps are feeding almost exclusively on starfishes. They feed their prey, and they are feeding slowly over days. It's quite cruel, actually. Yeah, that's their behavior. And then on the right side, it's a bubble coral shrimp where I use a purple color, perfectly matching the purple of the shrimp in order to highlight the visual symbiosis. The peacock mantis shrimp, we can see here, and it's pretty often actually that we can see them holding and protecting a lot of red eggs. And here with a swirl feature as well. In the super macro world, there is a famous hairy shrimp, super tiny as well, very difficult to see. And here I recommend to use a backlight in order to highlight all the contour and the details of the body of the shrimp, as you can see in those two pictures. As far as crabs are concerned, there's a lot of very funny species in mud diving environments, like this one, the orangutan crab. It's not only a crab that looks like the monkey, but it really moves like the monkey, like really like crawling that way slowly. It's very interesting to watch. And we have also the decorator crabs, super camouflage. They basically attach living organism to their shells in order to blend with their environment. So it's a kind of a Velcro shell, right? Where they adapt to their environment. So basically, if they are moving to a different place, then they will redecorate their shell with new material from that place. Pretty interesting. And then on the right picture is a close-up of an eye of a conch. And of course, we have very common species such as the moray. Disclaimer, it's not a special blue eye moray. It's actually created in camera with a blue light torch just in the eye. And a backlight in order to create, to define the contour of the eel and highlight the texture, right? And then on the right side, a very interesting network pipefish with a very funny look, very inquisitive look. Of course, very common species such as blennies and gobies. And there, as we've seen, the name of the game in McDiving waters is actually camouflage. So there's a lot of critters, invisible critters, that can be only visible with specific photo techniques. That's the case of this picture, this translucent shrimp. Inside is shelter. It's a green tunicate. So for this one, I had to place basically a torch, a continuous light on the side, a little bit in the backlight in order to light through the tunicate And my camera was a special angle in order to be able to see the shrimp glowing, and especially the eyes. I just have one single frame of that picture because if I was moving a little bit the angle of the camera, I couldn't see the eye or some other. So it's very, very specific to light, to lit this kind of invisible shrimps or invisible critters. Speaking about camouflage, we have other very famous critters, the masters of the camouflage, like the pygmy seahorse, very cute as well. For photographer here, the challenge is that they are extremely sensitive to the light. They are extremely shy. So it's very important to avoid to put a light directly on them. So that's the reason why they're always, trying to not look at you directly. And since we don't want to disturb them, it's very important to have a very low strobe power with no focus light and no continuous light. It's really a must to have this kind of pictures. On the right side, it's another pipe horse or pipe dragon or sea dragon. Well, actually, this is a critter that has been discovered very recently in Inland Bay. And this is one of the latest names. Now they put two different names, pygmy pipe horse or pygmy pipe dragon. But there in Inland Bay, it is well known for the Lambay sea dragon. And as you can see, it really looks like a leaf. And if you don't see the eye, you don't recognize it's actually a critter. There's a lot of critters with a lot of character as well in mud diving. Like on the left side, the devil scorpionfish that stays still and still and still. It's absolutely crazy. And on the right side, it's a Rhinopias. The right picture is actually my creative interpretation of Salvador Dali, with the painter iconic mustache, is the expressive gaze and the very prominent eyebrows. Okay, just kidding. It's just a fully backlight Rhinopias, but really, when I was shooting this photo, it let me think about Salvador Dali. The mandarin fish that we can find quite often actually in Southeast Asia. It's very rare, but there are some specific places that they are going to mate every evening, so it's quite easy to take pictures of them. I would recommend actually to go to Lambay. It's probably the best site for photographing them because they are bigger. How can I say, you can see them better, basically. So during the sunset, the male and the female mandarin pair up and perform a super quick swimming belly to belly toward the surface, and then their spawning explosion. It's very interesting to witness that. And here the secret for photographers is to use a red light to focus and to take the picture, because if you show up with a white light, or yellow light, or any kind of color, it's not going to work. They are not going to show up at all. Okay, so as you've seen in some of my picture, the mud diving environment is really perfect for creative work. And especially one of my favorite technique, that is a slow shutter speed with a panning effect. So this is a case of those two pictures. And mud diving is amazing for that because the background is usually dark and there's low distraction. So you can actually do very interesting panning backgrounds for that. So for the photographers listening to this call, I personally like the 1/4 of a second of shutter speed, a very gentle panning of my camera in the natural direction of the critter. So it can be from the left to the right, or from the top to the bottom, depending on the direction of the critter. And I like to backlight the critter, or to do a side snooting in order to make them really pop. And again, positioning the light and snoot is much easier in mud diving environment because there's space, right? So you can very easily place a snoot behind the critter to backlight it. Okay, so some underwater photography tips, just to summarize very quickly. So McDiving is a super macro paradise. Besides your macro lens, like a 90 mil, 100 mil, I'm talking about full frame here. Don't forget your magnification tools, such as wet lens diopters or any extension tube, or even a teleconverter you might have. It's really important. Then interesting to bring a snoot to isolate the subject from the background mainly, because it's not really nice, right? It's just dark volcanic sand. And then you can use either continuous light, so torches, as small as possible. Like I have one here. I don't know if you can see. It's a mini gear. Yeah. Like that, you can really place them everywhere. They're super small. And I use continuous light mainly to, for those critters who are translucent or transparent, so that they can glow from within. And also when I'm using a colored background, I think that it's working better with continuous light for the main subject. Or you can use strobes for a more, how can I say, a crisper effect, and a better subject isolation, and also for critters very sensitive to light. Okay, so both techniques are totally available depending on the critter, on the situation, and the kind of effects that you want. Since this is a dark sand, seabed, and slope, if you are using strobe on your camera, it's always better to have a little bit higher strobe positioning to avoid to lead the sand. But because of the slopes and everything, as I was saying, it's very, very easy to do backlight, side light, cross lighting, slow shutter speed, and panning. It's really a perfect studio for a photographer. There's not only macro, by the way, in all these places I mentioned, there's always very interesting wide angle opportunities as well. One important tip is to clean your O-rings every day in those places, or maximum every 2 days, because there's a lot of black particles and they are really, really stuck on the O-rings. So something that we shouldn't be forgetting. From a diving perspective, when you have shore dives, in some of the places I mentioned, it's only shore dives. It's quite rocky, so important to have boots. And of course, since we are talking about super macro, important to have diopters in your mask in order to actually see them, especially after 45 years old. And the critters usually are not very deep, right? They are between, I don't know, 15 and 25 meters. So it's very good to go with nitrox so you can spend more time with them. As I was explaining, very often you stay with a critter the whole dive because you're waiting for some specific behavior, like the frogfish yawning, or because you want to try different lighting or different colors. Okay, so second wonder of Southeast Asia. In the interest of time, I'll go a little bit quicker so we can have time for questions in the end, okay? Okay, we've seen that 76% of the coral biodiversity can be found in the Coral Triangle. And there is one destination in Indonesia that is super famous, and precisely for holding two things. It's the world record of highest coral biodiversity and the highest fish species count in one single area. So a lot of records, and that's Raja Ampat. And well, Raja Ampat is absolutely wonderful. It's considered like one of the most resilient ecosystem, reef ecosystem. But we've seen significant bleaching events over the last few years. Thankfully, I was there like 3 months ago, and it seems that the reef is recovering, and those pictures are taken from 3 months ago. So as you can see, very, very healthy coral reef. The region and Raja Ampat specifically are great opportunities for split shots, so over under the water. And for that, my recommendation is to go with very shallow and calm water so that the water line stays perfectly defined. It's good to do it early morning or in the afternoon, but during midday, there is a very nice reflection, as you can see on my pictures. It gives a kind of dreamy effect. So I actually like the midday effect of split shots. Usually we put the strobes under the water, and we are focusing the camera under the water, not topside. And of course, we need a very deep depth of field and narrow aperture. And the best gear to manage a split shot is larger domes. So the larger, the better. Mine is a 230 millimeters. But we can do some stuff with smaller, but usually the line of the water won't be that nice, so it's quite difficult. Of course, if you are not standing on the sand, it's very important to make your setup float properly. So either you have a lot of floats, or you can use a life jacket actually at the bottom of your camera to keep it half in the water and half in the air. We can see also a lot of marine life and corals on the wrecks, and there's a lot of wrecks in the region. For instance, in Coron, I'm going there next week, in the Philippines. And those two pictures, just to give you an idea, it's from Tulamben in the Liberty wreck. So a lot of marine life, a lot of corals. It's actually beautiful. Okay. So like in a lot of other regions, healthy coral are struggling with global warming. We know that, with bleaching events, but also with human pressure. And there is really a strong need for coral restoration. And I'd like to introduce you to an amazing project in Indonesia called BioRock. That is a place very, very close to my heart. And I have a publication coming up very soon about this project. And by the way, Bilal, remember we talked about that. This is also one of the places where will take place the upcoming CMAS championship in October, the photo championship in October, right? So if people here in the audience are participating to this championship, come back to me. I can give you a lot of tips and tricks. Okay, so BioRock is one of the world's longest running coral restoration site. It's been 26 years now, and it's a powerful example of a successful reef recovery. And what makes this site and this project truly unique is a fascinating blend between science, culture, and tradition, and the nature. So let me explain. So first of all, from a technological perspective, they are using electricity, so low voltage microcurrent structure, to accelerate the coral growth and to strengthen the reef resilience, which is already quite innovative. But not only they are doing that, but this coral restoration there takes a more cultural dimension too, because some structure take the form of sacred guardians inspired from the Balinese mythology, that are symbolically protecting the ocean and protecting the coral reef as well. So it's not only the science, but it's also the culture. And as you can see here, you can see some interesting figures from the Gajah Mina on the left side. That's a powerful water guardian with an elephant head and a fish tail. Or the Garuda on the right side, that's an icon, which is also, by the way, the national Indonesian emblem. And the result of this bioengineering technology plus a strong cultural beliefs, the result is thriving, living reefs full of fishes, as you can see, where biodiversity is really increasing year after year. Interestingly, BioRock has become a model of community-based ecotourism, because you can see on the left side, there are donor names are forged into the structure. And the coral is growing on top of these names, right? So it's gradually becoming part of the reef. It's been active, as I was saying, for 26 years now. And the work continues. You can still see some very new structures with just a few coral fragments attached. And soon those structures will become like reef and thriving reef. Okay, let's go for the third very interesting topic.
Nice, very nice.
Thank you. Black waters. I don't know if you know black waters.
I haven't done it, but I wrote about it. It's
Oh,
beautiful,
yeah, for sure. For
beautiful.
sure.
It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of, it's actually the reason why I started underwater photography. It's after
Really?
a blackwater dive. Yeah.
Mm.
So for those who don't know blackwater, so it's a form of night diving, but it takes place is in a open ocean. So typically over very, very deep water. And we can see the vertical migration of pelagic organism. It's very, very weird, very strange. We are basically suspending powerful lights from a boat to attract creature as they rise toward the surface to feed. So the main focus of Blackwater is the larval stage marine life, like the tiny translucent fish, cephalopods, bioluminescent creatures, etc. So I'm going to go very quickly with some example. This is a wonderpuss. Remember the wonderpuss we've seen earlier? But this is a wonderpuss at its larval stage. And during this stage, early stage, the octopus is completely transparent and translucent and drifting in the open ocean. Pretty different from the adult version, right?
Right.
The famous Argonaut or paper nautilus with a very friendly expression, and as you can see on the right side, and this is the same guy actually, pretty clever because he's using this stinging jellyfish as a living shield against predator, and also as a taxi, as to save his own energy as well. This is on the left side, okay, and then when I was photographing. He separates himself from the jelly. Different shrimps in black waters as well. On the left side, this is a shrimp on a pyrosome. The pyrosome is a free-floating colonial tunicate made up of hundreds of individual organisms, as you can see a little bit in the picture. And they are physically linked together to form a bioluminescent tube. Okay? On the right side, this is a mantis shrimp, but at his larval stage, it's completely translucent and transparent as well. The female on the left side, the female Phronima, I used to call that the alien. And around you can see its babies that are inside the salt to protect from predators. And for the record, it was actually the model of the critter, the model that inspired the movie, the famous movie Alien. You know the monster? Yeah. So it seems to be inspired by this critter here. And on the right side, it's a sea butterfly spawning with eggs like a string of pearl. The scorpion fish. Remember the scorpion fish we've seen before, the white one? Well, this is his larval stage. Very different, but very cool and very interesting look as well. Larval flounders as well, two different types, completely transparent and bioluminescent. This is a larval eel, and at that stage, they are very flat and transparent. And for underwater photographers, so the tips are, so here we're talking about Southeast Asia. So it's mainly in Anilao. This is a place I recommend. Of course, you can see black waters in Lambay, in Tulamben, but really the capital of black water in Southeast Asia is in Anilao, Philippines. Very important, I believe, is the season, is to go between December and April, and during a new moon. So basically when there is no moonlight. If you go during a full moon, then there's too much light and the critters are not going up. So it's very important to go around a new moon. And so my setup for Blackwater is something very important. We never talk about that, but this is really important, is a focus lamp with a wide beam, a very powerful one, and additional torches to find actually the critters. And when you find a critter, asking your guide, for instance, to keep the light on the critter so that you don't miss it. Then I go with a standard macro setup. My setup is a 90 mil, but I like to have the additional Nauticam MFO3, which makes my 90 mil a 60 mil. But if you have a 60 mil lens, then probably better to at least to start with this one. It's easier to see, not to lose the critter. And then you can have a close-up by using a crop sensor, for instance, crop sensor feature of your camera. For the macro, for the strobe positioning, it's a macro one, so close to the port, right? And with lower power, because you want to recycle very, very quickly for different frames. I used to remove subject recognition because, as you can see, how can the camera recognize a subject? Sometimes there's even no eyes. So it's better to avoid it and to avoid the camera to search, to the autofocus to go back and forth. I'm using autofocus continuous tracking. And my go-to, so when I'm jumping in the water for black waters, is ISO 400. The aperture f18 and the shutter speed is 1/200 or 1/250 of a second. But then I'm changing, of course, depending on the results I want and depending on the condition. It's very interesting also to take pictures of black water close to the surface so that you can have the reflection of the critter. So just some people are doing slow motion as well for black water. I believe it can be very, very interesting. And from a diving perspective, it is very important to have a warm jacket for the interval surface. Here we're doing this during the night, right? And it's quite fresh. It's quite cold even. There is some wind, so it's good to take a warm jacket. More than any other dive, I believe that perfect buoyancy is key. Because you don't have riff, you don't have anything, you're really in the water. So I personally put a depth alarm at 20 meter and always keeping a visual light close by. So it's very important to have a really good buoyancy. A private guide is really helpful. In those places in Southeast Asia, you can have a private guide very, very easily. So especially to keep the lighting, not only to spot the critters, but also to keep the lighting on the subject while shooting. And then protect your skin because sometimes there are some stinging organism in the water. Of course, it's larval stage, right? So yeah, I'm usually going there ninja style, all protected with gloves and everything. Okay. Last but not least, pelagic species. So here, there's 4 that we can find everywhere in the world. Don't get me wrong, but I believe that in Southeast Asia, we can find them with a higher probability or it's more accessible. So what I'm saying is that, for instance, for the sunfish, the mola mola, if you go to Nusa Penida, that is an island close to Bali, a part of Bali, actually, in Indonesia. If you go between July and September, you have really high probabilities and high chances to see mola molas. The same for treasure sharks in Malapascua, in Cebu Island in the Philippines, where they are actually, so treasure sharks are sharks living in deep, very deep waters, but they are coming up for their cleaning station. And in this place, the cleaning station is between 12 meters to 20 meters. So imagine you have all the ambient light. So it's really it's paradise for photographers because you can take a picture of the treasure shark with a lot of light. And since you can't be using your strobes because they are very sensitive to the light, then it's perfect. So I think that's the best place in the world to take pictures and to see and simply to witness treasure sharks. Dugong in Coron, there's a lot of resident dugong in Southeast Asia, so in Coron, but also in Alor, in other places. We can see whales as well, blue whales, humpback whales in Timor-Leste or in Alor. Of course, it's not as easy as Tonga or in the French Polynesia, but still, it's it's quite impressive and quite easy. But today I'll focus on another encounter in Moaboal, that is a sardine run. So it's why it's so interesting. It's because it's a permanent natural phenomenon where millions of sardines are congregating year round and just off the shore in Cebu, right? It's in the Philippines. So very different from the sardine run in South Africa or in Baja California in Mexico. Here in the Philippines, this massive bait ball is a permanent resident, right? So it's every day. So it's really cool. The sardines are typically hanging out between 2 meters to 15 meters deep. So it's very accessible for snorkeler, for free divers, and then it's a paradise for us photographers because we can add free divers doing creating some shapes with the sardines, as you can see in the pictures, or integrate some scuba divers as well, play with sunburst, like here as well, with divers, sunburst, and the sardines. And they can turn into even a living canvas with millions of fishes moving in a perfect harmony and creating very interesting shapes. So here, for just literally 1 second, I just have one frame, one picture of that. They are forming here a human face, as if the ocean itself were gazing back at us. So I used to call this image, the ocean is watching us, right? So basically I saw a kind of, they were forming 2 eyes. And then when I press on the shutter, I could see also the mouth. I mean, it's really, really lucky on this one. Okay, last but not least, about my equipment. So of course I have 2 different setup for macro and for wide angle. So I'm a Sony shooter, currently shooting with A7R5. Soon we'll be buying the R6 that was just launched yesterday. And I'm using a Nauticam housing. For macro, it's a 90mm lens with all the diopters of Nauticam, MF01, SMC3, MF03. For the lights, I'm using strobes, backscatter strobes, a mini flash with all the snoots and the accessories. I have a lot of torches, mini gear with snoots and colors, refine as well. And for macro specifically, I like to use the angle viewfinder from Nauticam, a lot of accessories and filters as you've seen. And I like to use a back button focus. So basically I fix the focus and then I'm moving back and forth to find the perfect sharpness or where I want the focus to be. And for this macro setup, I know usually people are going with negative buoyancy, but I prefer neutral buoyancy with a lot of floats actually in the arm and in the ring, because I can stay like 90 minutes with lifting up my camera on one critter. And yeah, I really need my setup to be extremely light. And for the wide angle, it's a Nauticam fisheye conversion port, the FCP, with a 28-60mm lens of Sony. I've just received actually my Nauticam 230mm dome, so a large dome with a rectilinear Sony lens. And for the strobes, I'm using backscatter hybrid flash with snoot, their new snoot that they launched 2 months ago. Especially that's for close focus wide angle. And then I have also a refine torch for remote lighting, and also to give to my models so that we can see the model with the light. So a proper light with 5,000 lumen. I think it's really the minimum for divers, model divers. And yeah, so thank you very much for your attention. Let's connect. If you want to know more, feel free to contact me through email, Insta. Here is my QR code if you want to scan it to go to my Instagram account. And I believe that's all, Bilal. Do we have maybe any question? Back to you.
That was Great presentation. Thank you very much. And so I want to hear just a second, technical things. Yeah,
Ms. Renault, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you
congratulations.
so much.
Your photographs are bone clear. We call bone clear, very clear. It's very nice photography, very good explanation. You gave all the secrets of the craft to people that we can learn something from it. The black water diving I haven't done, but I have few people in the magazine. But you explained very nice. It was really nice. And I understand you invest Porsche in your diving gear. Almost a lot of gear, nice, good gear. And what else I like to say? Yeah, about Mola Mola. I am doing now a documentary. At the end, we have to find the Mola Mola. And you tell me where it is. Okay, but yesterday I saw on Instagram there was a Mola Mola on the surface swimming in the Aegean Sea, close to Gökçe Island, but it's far from me now, so I have to still look for it. It's good, thank you. It's very, very nice, lovely. I hope we work together sometime. If Sualtı Gazetesi allow me to do business with you, we can
Yeah,
do
with
some
pleasure.
business.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And for the Mola Mola, you're so right, because usually we find them very deep. So tech divers, they are seeing a lot of Mola Molas, but for recreational divers, it's a little bit more complicated. Yeah.
Another
Thank you.
another little thing, maybe you will be interested about the wrecks. Of course, Mediterranean has a lot of wrecks, shallow wrecks, deep wrecks. 2,000 years, they estimate 1,000 ship a year. So think about it. We have a place now open for diving. There is 5 different century from 2,000 years old shipwreck at 30 meters, and top of them there's a this century shipwreck was carrying animals, cargo ship, animal cargo ship, and underneath all amphoras history. It will be a lovely wide angle shot for you to come here and do some work. I hope we see you in Bodrum sometime.
Yeah, that would be with pleasure. I'm French, so I'm very often going back to Europe to visit my family. So definitely interested.
Diving and calamari from me.
So then, yeah, Mediterranean, but you're based in Bodrum, right? You said at the beginning.
Yes, Bodrum.
So there's a lot of very interesting wrecks and diving in the south part of
And
Turkey.
we have a
Indeed.
very good, the world first museum, underwater museum in Bodrum. You will find very interesting and really nice. It's good. I hope you come sometime.
Okay, that's a deal.
We let Bilal also dive with us.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure for me. And anyway, that is so nice things that my father is teacher, Mahmoud's teacher, and Mahmoud is my teacher, and big chain goes on like this.
In
So
my
it's an extended family, huh?
Yeah.
in my military service, I like to be close to my home in Istanbul. So I asked if I could go to the diving school in Istanbul, place called Çubuklu. It's a beautiful place next to the Bosphorus. And my instructor was his father.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And one day he told me I was in the tank diving training. He told me, come up. So I come out of the tank. He asked me, would you like to go NATO? Well, I said, I'd like to go Belgium, yes. So that's how it started. Then I met Bilal too. So
And now you've seen all your career in the diving and in the photography and the edition. Crazy, huh?
well, we are lucky people. All we think is the sea.
Yeah,
Rather than thinking
I'm with
other
you.
ugly things, we are lucky. So I
Yeah.
ask you another question, which you already mentioned, but this is very important what you do, really, especially shooting macro, which I'm not good with it. I can, but I'm not good. I have few good pictures. Um, black water diving, seeing all these little larval creatures, it reminds me like how the world is formed. It's amazing life, amazing, really. And there are a lot of coral restoration companies, which they do. Some they do a very good job, and some I don't know about it. But the thing is, the government's not doing enough. Maybe they do, but when you think how many percent of the oceans being put aside as a park, unbelievable. It's very little. In Turkey, maybe more parks than in Europe. That's another fact. Uh, like there is one company in the group in Lombok. I think what they do, the company name is Project Hue. What they do, this is the only way because you go somewhere as a tourist, I go somewhere as a tourist. Okay, we make good pictures, we leave some money there, we come home. Always we become conservationist because we did there, we went there. But this doesn't help. This girl from Australia, I think, she went to Lombok and she tried to convert shark hunters, fishermen, to boat captains. Instead of shark hunting, they take tourists to diving or snorkeling trips. So many boats now, instead of going to sharks, they do tourist business. This is one way I think is very good, very important. Most people must do this all over.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah,
people are poor. They don't care your macro, they don't care anything. They just
yeah.
kill the animal and sell it. And there must be a ways to handle this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to say two things here. So first of all, about your comment about the government and well, of course we can do a lot of coral restoration stuff, but the important thing is global warming. And this is where the government can do a lot because everything starts with global warming. So I think uh, it's really important to raise the awareness and to lobby and advocate for the ocean protection. And for the Lombok, actually, it's exactly the same story than the place I presented with BioRock. So the place is in Pemuteran in Bali. So Lombok is just the next island close to Bali. And they did exactly the same. They all the fishermen, a long time ago, they destroyed completely all the reefs. There were no fish, nothing. And they completely changed the whole community into a tourism and a community-led ecotourism. So all the people, the fishermen that used to be fishermen, they changed job and they start working for tourism and they started to regrow their coral reefs and everything. So it's exactly that. It's community-led. And this is happening in a lot of places in the world, and especially in Southeast Asia, which is amazing to see. I didn't know exactly about the Lombok, but there is a BioRock project actually in the Gili Island in the Lombok. I wonder if it's not the same person. I'll double check after the call.
Okay, nice talking to you.
Nice
Thank
talking to
you.
you too. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. I think we have another person raising the hand.
Yes,
Please go ahead.
Mrs. Müge Ataman, and we are listening your question, Mrs. Müge.
Duyabiliyor musunuz Bilal Bey?
Evet, Müge Hanım.
Bildim yani. Nasılsınız, iyi misiniz?
Sağ olun, çok teşekkür ederiz. Sizin burada oluşumuza çok çok sevindik. Çok çok teşekkür ederiz.
Çok beğenerek ve çok büyük ilgiyle izledim. Mademoiselle Renault, je vous remercie beaucoup pour cette magnifique présentation. C'était très intéressante pour moi. Moi, je ne suis pas une professionniste comme vous tous ici, mais quand même, pour 25 ans de ma vie, j'ai fait du tourisme. J'ai travaillé même avec Singapour. So I wanted to welcome you in your language. First, your own language. And now I will continue in English. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. It was very interesting, very nice field, and I have learned quite a lot with this nice presentation of yours. And I am working also together with Bilal on some other subjects. I'm one of the writers of the groups, but I basically write about international politics. So this is my main subject. But as I am interested in photography, as well with the tourism background, now after listening you, I realized that I might introduce this cooperation of yours together with Bilal to some other groups, some other fields as well. As I said, it was a very, very interesting presentation for me. Je vous remercie beaucoup pour ça. J'espère de pouvoir la possibilité de vous rencontrer de nouveau, page Bilal, avec des autres groupes, j'espère.
Oh, wow. First of all, congratulations for your French. It's just perfect. Have you been living in France?
I'm Turkish, but I am becoming from a Francophone family, and I am graduated from a French high school, and I'm professor of Neo-Latin languages.
Oh, wow. I'm not surprised because even your English is really good. Oh, my congratulations. Merci beaucoup.
Possiamo parlare,
And
possiamo parlare anche in italiano.
podemos hablar aquí en italiano.
Avrebbe
It could be
bene
as
anche in
well.
italiano.
I was mentioning to Bilal that I'm currently based in Singapore, but actually it's been 30 years I've not been living in France. I don't feel French anymore because I've been living in 8 different countries and been traveling and visiting 100 countries or even more. So I don't feel French anymore. But yeah, thank you so much for your comments. Really, really appreciate it, and very open to any kind of topic that we can be working on. Very nice project that we can be working together. So I mean, you have my contact here, right? The email or Instagram. Don't hesitate to contact me directly after the call. It will be really with a great pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Really,
And
it was
très bon week-end. Merci.
I thank you, Bilal, too. It was a very wonderful opportunity to me to participate to this presentation. Thank you very much.
Dear Bilal and Mademoiselle Renault, I feel alive. I need a dive. Bye. I
Yes.
must dive. Today I must dive.
Thank you again, and goodbye to everybody. It was a very, very nice experience. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day and a great weekend ahead.
Same to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you know Maryline? Do you know anybody videographing of Blackwater?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Any friend? Do you know anybody who's doing videography Blackwater?
Yeah. I have a lot of friends doing videography, especially the ones doing in Florida and in Anilao. There's
Okay.
communities, and I used to go there in Crystal Blue.
Okay, maybe I
It
can
is a
ask
great
you name.
place.
Okay. Have a good day, good weekend.
Thank you so much. See you soon. I'm waiting for your contact then, Mahmoud. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna benefit. Thank you very much for the great presentation.
Thank you so much again to invite me for this talk. I think it was a great experience, and I look forward to receiving news for the rest. I mean, we've been talking about some upcoming interesting projects. So have a nice day and talk to you soon.
Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Thank you so
Ciao, ciao.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.